How are we doing today, Chicago Cubs fans? And we are back with another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan. The Cubs take their 6th consecutive series from the Cincinnati Reds today in a beautiful 7-3 victory. We'll recap the whole entire series. The Cubs are also potentially targeting a starting pitcher from the Tampa Bay Rays, and Jed Hoyer gives us a little tease about trade talks in an interview with Marquee the other day. But before we get into all that, just want to give you guys a big shout out and thank you for all the likes, the subscriptions, and the comments. Let me know your guys and gals' thoughts on this team. How can we improve? What are you liking to see? Etc., etc. Keep it coming. I love reading the comments. If you guys know, I'm responding to every single comment that comes on through. So let's hop into it. The Cubs win another series. They take the last two from the Reds after a 6-2 loss on Friday. They bounced back on Saturday with a 2-0 win. And then yesterday, the offense comes alive and drops 7 runs to get a nice, easy, clean 7-3 victory. Again, yesterday was a little bit gimmicky, right? I think they threw out the opener. And then Ben Brown came in. And Ben Brown looked great. I mean, I don't know if just the designation of saying, hey, man, you're not starting this game, but you're going to come in right in the second inning. And he gave us a really good performance. I was thoroughly impressed with how well Ben Brown pitched yesterday. Again, you got to give the guy his credit, man. And Tyone went yesterday, actually, but it was Ben Brown on Saturday who looked really, really good for this team. So again, the starting pitching, man, it's going to come in ebbs and flows, right? It's really crazy how this works. Tyone has been one of the best starting pitchers in baseball over this past month. I think now it's a 6-7 chance at a quality start for him. He did the job against the Reds. And again, the Cubs cruised to victory, had a nice 4-run fourth, tacked on a few more in the 7th, and that's all she wrote in this one. And again, with the wind blowing in at Wrigley, you got to get creative with scoring runs, and I think the Cubs rebounded really, really well. So, happy to see that. We get the day off today. We're traveling to Washington. In tomorrow's video, we'll preview that series. Washington's going to be a very, very interesting matchup because they have a lot of sensational young talent that you got to keep your eye out for because these guys are going to be the superstars of baseball in a few years to come. But now, this Chicago Cubs team, how can we get better in the interim, right? Who can we see? Who can we pluck? You know the Cubs. They are absolutely keep everything close to the vest. There's rumors out there. You kind of don't know what's true or what's not true. But this rumor was tossed out the other day, and it was the starting pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays, Mr. Zach Littell. And Zach Littell has been very solid for the Rays this year, okay? He's 5-5 with a 3.86 ERA. The one downside, though, is that he has given up the most home runs in baseball, which is 16. But I would have to imagine that, on the right days at Wrigley, that ball won't fly as far. But again, despite giving up that many home runs, he has a 3.86 ERA, and the Rays are only 5.5 back of the Yankees. So I'm not sure if the Rays are interested in trading for Littell, or, it just kind of depends. But you've got to know how the Rays work. They don't really extend anyone. They don't, pay anyone exorbitant amount of money except that one guy who unfortunately didn't work out. So now you kind of know that they're a little bit more reserved even more to give someone money. So, and Zach Littell, he's turning 30 in a few days, so I'm not sure. If, again, teams like the Rays, the Oakland Athletics, they're always open to hearing your offer. And I think if the right offer were to come along, they would accept it. Now, do the Cubs want Zach Littell? Is this a good fit for the team? Maybe in this current stretch, right? This current, without Shota, without Steele, I think, honestly, he could be a really good fit. He could really help us this next month and a half or so. I think in the long run, though, I don't like it. I don't want to give up anything too major for him, and I don't know if the Rays are going to really be interested in something like that. I think the article that I read about this one, they're kind of talking about giving up like Miguel Amaya, who I don't necessarily want to give up for just kind of a half-year rental pitcher. Again, Zach Littell, very solid, does the job. But if we're going to give up some talent that's going to be with this big league club for a long time, they gotta bring us back a player that's going to be with this team for at least 2 to 3 more years, right? So I like Zach Littell. I think he would absolutely help improve this team in the interim. But I think once Shota comes back, I think, again, the pitching staff gets even stronger. I know it's kind of obvious and stupid to say, but, like, when Shota comes back, he's going to be the number one. Then Tyone can bump down to 2. We'll have Boyd 3, Colin Ray 4, and then however we're going to work that 5th rotation spot, we'll get that figured out. Again, we're waiting for Javier Assad to get healthy, etc. Maybe Jordan Wicks figure something out, or maybe even Ben Brown, who pitched well on Saturday, can find a way to supplement that 5th spot role. Because again, if you think about it in the future, right, next year and so on and so forth, it's going to be Shota, it's going to be Steele. This might be Tyone's last year, but if I think the Cubs are going to trade for a starting pitcher, they're going to trade for a guy that's going to be a part of the starting rotation for the next few years and be a 1, 2, or 3, and ideally a 1. And we'll talk more about those potential trade targets, but I think Zach Littell would fit this team. I don't think he would hurt this team. But when you have a team that's this good with this great of chemistry, you don't really want to mess with it too much unless you're going to add a real nice piece to it. And I don't think Zach Littell is that, but I don't think he would be a bad get at the right price for the Cubs. The problem is he's coming from the Tampa Bay Rays organization, and they're absolutely going to make sure that they're getting their money's worth for it, right? Which totally makes sense. So Jed Hoyer was talking about this in an interview with Marquee. He discussed how the team's going to approach the trade deadline. See, the team's doing well right now, so I'm not saying the Cubs don't need to not fix anything, but you got to let some of these things play out, right? Some of these teams need to keep losing, keep going on losing streaks, etc., before that they're really ready to officially, quote-unquote, sell some of their assets to get more young prospects in return. So this is what Jed said the other day. He said, to quote our manager, we just need to get outs, Hoyer said Tuesday, and so we have to figure that out. Whether it's the beginning of the game or the end of the game, our depth has been tested, and we have to assume that's not going to stop. That will continue to be tested. We have to continue to find depth where we can find it. And I think the Cubs have done a fantastic job of this so far. Again, I know the bullpen had a rocky start to the year, but ever since that implosion against the Giants in mid-May, the ERA has been number 1 in baseball. So the bullpen has been doing its job. I know they let up a few walk-offs, but you guys and gals have to remember, it's going to happen. You can't be perfect. It's baseball. The Dodgers might have the closest thing to a perfect team I've ever seen. And they're still losing games. They've lost more games than the Cubs have. So, I mean, baseball's just a quirky sport. Things are going to happen, but it seems like the bullpen is catching a hot streak right now. They're going to go through a little phase of run again, but again, it's all about being in October. It's all about having a seat at the dance. And potentially, if your bullpen's hot and the bats are hot, you could win a World Series. And the Cubs have that potential, absolutely. Danny Palencia has done a fantastic job. But that doesn't mean that the phone lines aren't open and that the Cubs aren't reaching out to all possible suitors. Again, a name I'm going to tease. I got to caveat this because everyone thinks that when I say something, I think it's going to happen. But call Athletics about Mason Miller, right? See what their price is. See what the price is of Johan Duran, Emmanuel Clase, etc., etc. Gauge the market. That's what Jed has been critically underrated at doing. Sometimes he doesn't pull the trigger. Sometimes he can't pull the trigger because, Mr. Ricketts doesn't give him the financial tools to do so. But he always finds a way. No doubt about it. Jed Hoyer's done a fantastic job putting this roster together. And I imagine that is going to continue because it's led to this, ladies and gentlemen. They have the best record in the National League. They're tied with the Mets at 37-22, and they are in prime position to not only win the Central, but maybe get a first-round bye. Now, that's not necessarily my favorite thing to hear because I always want to keep playing baseball that late in the year. But right now, the Cubs having one of the best records in all of Major League Baseball, that is exciting. And it's always a good time at Wrigley when you know that the Cubs have a chance to go out there and win every single day. So, great start to our June. Cubs have one of the best records. I'm going to say it like this. I think the last time the Cubs had one of the best records entering June was in 2016. And again, there's been a lot of lineage and connections to that season. I'm not sure if this team is as good as that team. The league could be a lot tougher as well. But this team battles, this team plays hard, and they seem to figure it out when it matters most. So hopefully that can translate to October and can translate to us going multiple rounds and having a deep postseason run, which is truly, truly what this is all about. This team is special. This team is fun. And I'm excited to continue watching them along the way. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow with the preview of the Nationals, and we'll talk soon. Peace.